right, we are live, and we're going to be talking about a ruling that has just came out of California. You are hearing it first here, and this deals with California's ruling on open carry. And who better to have on here talking about open carry than Rich, who is the person responsible, one of the people responsible for youth carry in Florida, as he likes to call it, but everyone else just calls it open carry in Florida.
I like to say that I am Florida's little dick, Heller.
All right. But this is dealing with California's open carry ban, which has now been struck down. We're not going to go over too much of this because the whole entire ruling is like 98 pages, including a dissent. But this case was in front of the Ninth Circuit in California, and it is called Baird versus Honta, and it was in front of three judges, which is Randy Smith, Kenneth Lee, and everyone's favorite, Lawrence Van Dyke. Lawrence Van Dyke is definitely a pro-gun judge on the Ninth Circuit. And this was dealing with California's ban on open carrying of firearms in any county that holds more than 200,000 people, which is basically the whole state. This law was put into effect through what was called the Mumford Act. The Mumford Act was passed by Ronald Reagan when he was governor of California, and it dealt with carrying of firearms. It was targeted towards the Black Panthers, and in this case, it kind of highlights that the whole entire Mumford law was racially motivated, and the ban on open carrying of firearms in California was a racist law.
Well, aren't all firearm laws racist?
Yes, but especially this one. So basically, the law states that populations of less than 200,000 people, you're allowed to open carry, but
that doesn't exist on this planet.
Yeah. Basically, I just want to read this. Concurrently, Judge Lee joined Van Dyke and wrote separately to highlight how California has apparently resorted to subterfuge to deny its citizens their Second Amendment rights. California insists that citizens in counties with populations of fewer than $200,000 can apply for an open carry license, which is basically nowhere in California.
You said dollars, you meant people.
Yeah, 200,000 people, yeah. Yet California admits that it has no record of even one open carry license being issued. And one potential reason for that is California misled its citizens on how to apply for an open carry license.
Wow.
So basically, let's go ahead and read a little bit of the opinion. We're not going to read it all, but let's go ahead. Happy New Year.
Want me to read?
Yeah.
This case arises out of the appellant Mark Baird's civil rights lawsuit against the Attorney General of California, appellee Rob Bonta. Baird is a law-abiding citizen who wishes to openly carry a firearm in California, yet California has banned open carry in all counties with populations greater than 200,000, according to the most recent census. Those counties are the home to roughly 95% of the state's population, the 5% of California's population for whom open carry is not outright banned everywhere in the state or purportedly able to apply for licenses that would allow them to exercise their constitutional right to open carry in just their county of residence. Although their ability to secure even that license is on the record before us, at best unclear. Baird has challenged California's open carry restrictions under the Second and 14th Amendment. Baird
Now,
initially...
okay, now you have the Second Amendment you need to understand, but you have an equal protection clause, right? For everyone that must have the same equal protection in the state. This is saying that 5% of the population has more rights than 95% of the population, which violates the equal protection clause of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. Well, also the 14th Amendment makes the Second Amendment apply to the states.
Correct.
Baird initially sought a preliminary injunction, which the district court denied without analyzing Baird's likelihood of success on the merits. This court vacated and remanded for the district court to properly consider the likelihood of success. Rather than address the requested preliminary injunction on remand, the district court granted summary judgment in favor of California, holding that the Second Amendment does not protect Baird's desired conduct. Appealing again, Baird argues that the district court erred as a matter of law by incorrectly applying the New York State Pistol and Rifle Association versus Bruin. Thank you, Judge Thomas. We agree with Baird that California's ban on open carry in counties with a population greater than 200,000 fails under Bruin, and we reverse the district court's grant of summary judgment on this issue. With respect to Baird's as-applied and facial challenges to California's licensing requirements in counties with populations of less than 20,000, we conclude that Baird waived his as-applied challenge by not contesting the district court's dismissal on his opening brief. All right, I lost my spot. Let's see. Baird's license.
And that Baird's facial challenge fails on the merits on the record of this case. Accordingly, we affirm the district court to grant a summary judgment on Baird's challenges to the licensing scheme in the counties with populations less than 200,000. The judgment of the district court is therefore affirmed in part and reversed. So we're going to get into what they affirmed and reversed. The district court tried to say that Baird's conduct was not protected by the plain text of the Second Amendment, which was BS. So they didn't need.
You mean keep and bear? I mean, keep and bear arms. Sorry, yeah. Does not mean to bear them.
Yeah, I don't know, but so they didn't look at historical analogs. If they looked at historical analogs, they would have definitely couldn't find anything. But whatever. Let's keep on going.
For most of American history, open carry has been the default manner of lawful carry for firearms. It remains the norm across the country. More than 30 states generally allow open carry to this day, including states with significant urban populations. Indeed, several of our nation's largest, like Florida, largest cities and states recently returned to unlicensed open carry by explicitly authorizing it. For example, Texas reauthorized open carry without a license in 2021. Kansas likewise transitioned back to allowing open carry without a permit in 2015. And other states that placed restrictions on open carry in recent decades have also removed those burdens. Similarly, for the first 162 years of its history, open carry was largely unremarkable part of daily life in California. From 1850, when California first became a state, until the Mumford Act of 1967, public carry of firearms in California, open or concealed, was entirely unregulated. Holy crap! And when California first deviated or considered deviating from this practice, its reasons for doing so were less than morally exemplary. The first restriction.
This is where we get into the racism part.
The first restriction on public carry that California contemplated was a concealed carry ban in 1856. Which was intended to apply only to Mexicans, I guess Mexican carry, who were considered dangerous. Wow! See the rise and fall of California's first concealed carry law, NRA Institute, and scroll. Keep scrolling. For legislative action, January 1st. Oh, you went too far.
No, this is just thing. Just start right here. Eventually in 1960.
Okay. Eventually, in 67, California first criminalized the peaceful open carrying of a loaded handgun in the Mumford Act, legislation that was also tainted with racial animus. See Mumford Act, 1967, California Statute 2459, codified and amended at various sections of California Penal Code. California Penal Code, blah. I'm just going to keep going. Passed during the period of significant racial unrest, the Mumford Act was a legislative response to the Black Panthers Party activities, which included openly carrying firearms to protest police behavior in African American communities. See Thaddeus Morgan, the NRA supported blah, and we're scrolling up. The catalyzing event occurred when 30 members of the Black Panthers protested on the steps of California State House, armed with 357 Magnums, 12-gauge shotguns, and 45 caliber pistols, and announced the time has come for Black people to arm themselves. The California legislature disagreed and responded by passing the Mumford Act. Yet even then, it remained legal in California to open carry a handgun so long as it was unloaded. See Mumford Act, blah. That was the case for nearly half a century. After the Mumford Act, California's remained free to carry unloaded handguns openly and holstered for self-defense without penalty.
What are you going to do? Throw it at them?
So you don't mean one in the chamber. You mean, none in the cylinder or magazine.
Correct.
Wow. That changed only when California enacted its urban open carry ban barely over a decade ago in 2012. In doing so, California joined a tiny minority of states to have adopted such severe restrictions on open carry. In fact, California is the only state in the Ninth Circuit that has entirely banned open carry for the overwhelming majority of its citizens.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Basically, I just wanted to explain a little bit of that. We do have some super chats here. Someone, let's see here. I've been wrongfully banned from your Discord for a second time. Please, John, Discord is blah blah blah. I will look into that for you. So I will definitely look into that for you and let you know. Then we have another super chat. 30 of California's 58 counties are below 200,000 people, but 95% of the people.
Okay.
There's only 5% of the population.
Thank you for that.
Drew,
today, California law is
hold on. I said we're going to skip a bunch.
Oh.
And California is totally cool with 2A unless Black Panthers scared of the politicians in Sacramento. Thanks, Ray.
And here's the thing. Now, if they said, hey, they were shooting the guns wildly, there was a massacre, they killed a bunch of people. No, if you show up armed because you were getting beat up by the police or whatever, I fully support that, regardless of race. If the Somalis did, I'd feel a little weird about it, but I'd still support them. I mean, especially at the daycare centers,
Yeah, this is going to go into who Barrett is.
So Crump, with his photographic memory, quickly scanned every page and knows exactly where to go.
Yeah. Basically, he wants he's appealing the district court's ruling here.
We first addressed Baird's facial and as-applied challenges to California's urban open carry ban. If the Second Amendment's plain text covers an individual's conduct that is prescribed by firearms regulations, then the Constitution presumptively protects that conduct, and the government must then justify its regulation by demonstrating that it is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Bruin, blah. In other words, the government must affirmatively prove that the challenged regulation is part of the historical tradition that delimits the outer bounds of the right to keep and bear arms. Bruin. Regulations that extend beyond our historical tradition flout the Second Amendment's unqualified command that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Bruin, blah.
Okay, remember, a analog does not have to be a historical twin or a dead ringer, but it has to be remotely similar to be
So
used.
if it's just completely racist that says freed slaves can't carry guns, oh wait, no, that doesn't apply either.
Yeah.
But they keep trying.
Yep.
This historical test often requires a searching inquiry, but not always. United States v. Aaliyah. Let's see. After all, many firearms regulations seek to address general societal problems that have persisted since the founding. And Bruin, in instances, the inquiry is fairly straightforward. The absence of a distinctly similar historical regulation addressing the problem is relevant evidence that the challenged regulation is inconsistent with the Second Amendment. Whether regulations are distinctly similar or relevantly similar turns on how and why the regulations burden a law-abiding citizen's right to armed self-defense. Likewise, if earlier generations addressed the societal problem but did so through materially different means, that too is evidence that a modern regulation is unconstitutional. On the other hand, cases that implicate unprecedented societal concerns or dramatic technological changes may require courts to take a closer look at how and why regulations burden a law-abiding citizen's right to armed self-defense, and they're talking about Rahimi. Stated differently, judicial review of regulations that were unimaginable at the founding will often involve the reasoning by analogy, a commonplace task for any lawyer or judge. This later mode of analysis is the exception to Bruin's straightforward inquiry for regulations addressing a general societal problem that has persisted since the 18th century, is frequently referred to in this court as the nuanced approach.
And they reference Duncan versus Bonta there.
Okay, and a more nuanced approach applies here. Under Bruin, many questions are straightforward, and when governments are attempting to address general societal problems that have persisted since the founding via regulations with no distinctly similar historical counterpart, then there is no need to consider the nuanced approach. And of course, it should be clear enough that courts may not turn straightforward cases into nuanced approach cases and then use the nuanced approach to ban the very things that were universally protected from the founding through Reconstruction. If that were allowed, then Bruin's instruction that absence of a distinctly similar historical regulation addressing the problem is relevant evidence that the challenged regulation is inconsistent with the Second Amendment would have little practical force.
Let me just explain what's going on here. In this case, they were trying to say that because technological advancements of firearms, that meant that the courts did not have to have historical analogs because the nuanced approach should be used in this case specifically.
Because the second said muzzle loaders, right?
Basically that's what they were arguing.
It distinctly said keep and bear arms and did not specify the type or manner.
Correct.
Although this court recently confronted a panoply of Second Amendment cases, this case stands out in that it unquestionably involves a historical practice, open carry, that predates ratification of the Bill of Rights in 1791. This case does not necessarily involve any new technology. See Duncan.
Yeah, we can skip a lot of this right here. What basically Van Dyke is saying is this has nothing to do with a rapid evolving technology that the state was trying to say that it did. That
Therefore,
this case is straight. We don't have to read that. This case is straightforward and not nuanced because open carry is
open carry is open carry, yeah.
And it does, and that's it. And the challenge is not open carrying the AR-15 or something like that. It's open. It's an open carry case.
Okay, you want to read here?
No, you can go.
We begin with the founding in 1789, despite there being a series of laws that regulated the discharge, storage, and aggressive use of firearms. There were no direct statutory bans on carry of arms.
All right, we can skip a bunch of this. This is basically saying that there is no law from the founding era that banned the open carrying of firearms, and that it's too bad, too sad. Your analogs, because the state did provide analogs, but none of them had to do with that.
Was it the typical racist analogs?
Yeah, and they did reference one law from Georgia, but and also Louisiana. So they referenced a couple of laws that dealt with open carrying of firearms, Georgia, Louisiana, South Carolina, but all of were overturned as unconstitutional.
Wow.
So they try to enter in these analogs and not.
So take the bait, fall for why. How is this any kind of honest practice? Oh wait, that's right. Why Stephen Stabolier doesn't like lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, what they're saying is that the stuff that they referenced was wrong, and even when they reference the Second Circuit decision, stuff like that, they're saying that they erred in their reading. So let's just go from here.
California's clear failure to satisfy its burden to present evidence of a relevant historical tradition of firearm regulation is dispositive with respect to California's urban open carry ban. Once again, under Bruin, Second Amendment cases are straightforward when the challenged firearm regulation seeks to address general societal problems that have persisted since the founding. Bruin, California's urban open carry ban indisputably seeks to address such problems, including, to quote California's briefing in the case, concerns about firearms creating a highly stressful and unsafe environment that has high potential to create panic and chaos.
Basically, California was saying firearms are scary and they might scare people. Therefore, we need to ban open carrying of them because people might be scared.
And YouTube agrees with them. Because California regulations seek to address general societal problems that have persisted since the founding, there is no need to reach the Ninth Circuit's nuanced approach, the exception to Bruin default rule. The absence of a distinctly similar historical regulation addressing the problem is relevant evidence that the challenged regulation is inconsistent with the Second Amendment. Likewise, under Bruin, the fact that earlier generations addressed the societal problem but did so through materially different means is probative evidence that a modern regulation is unconstitutional.
Yeah, so basically they're saying that there's no historical record of the founders banning open carrying, and therefore it is unconstitutional to ban open carrying. Now they're going to get to the as-applied and facial challenges to the licensing scheme.
We next address Baird's as-applied and facial challenges to California's separate rural licensing scheme. These challenges are easily disposed of. The district court dismissed Baird's as-applied challenge to rural licensing scheme for lack of standing because Baird failed to fall into the local licensing authorities who could address his inquiry. And Baird v.
So basically saying that they're dismissing that because he didn't have standing because he didn't go through the whole entire thing. Then they say that California's arguments are BS when it comes to banning open carrying. And it goes back into more about why the nuance approach does not work and how the district court erred in its arguments.
You want to read here?
Yeah.
To get around that reality, the analogical argument that California would have us adopt really boils down to the idea that today a state can ban all open carry because some other states regulated some other things at the founding in some other ways. That too is a sloppy fit. Bruin requires a closer relationship between how and why. A historical regulation burdened the right to bear arms in how and why a modern analog burdens that right. Yet by extricating a broad principle such as a high level of generality, California and the district court conclude that all open carry can be banned so as long as some type of other carry, here concealed, is allowed. The historical record nowhere presents such a principle. As explained, the historical record clearly evinces that open carry was universally considered to be protected by the right to keep and bear arms, not just that some form of carry was protected.
Okay, we've been seeing this argument a lot since
they tried that in Florida.
Bruin said that everything has to be shall issue. We've been seeing a lot of places that have said that the open carrying of firearms can be banned as long as they present some type of carry, and they've always used concealed carry for that.
Tomato,
exactly. So it goes into that. Then it goes into how the state ignored everything, and try to use your grandfather was not E.T. Flood, by the way. Whatever. So let's just go down here.
Next, we address the impropriety of conducting a historical analysis predicated on the history that the Constitution left behind. Rahimi, blah. In conducting its historical analysis below, the district court relied in part on a series of egregiously racial discriminatory laws that California offered as analogous examples of restrictions on his... I'm sorry, I gotta laugh here. The unconstitutional carry in the historical tradition, although the district court professed reservations about leaning on such sordid legacy, the court ultimately concluded it should take account of the history of discriminatory regulations rather than completely ignore it. It's too much. If Supreme Court precedent and faithful examination of our historical tradition required such account, then courts would be forced to undertake the unpleasant task. But no authority requires that. Indeed, Supreme Court authority counsels against it. I can't believe that they use racism as support. You're real. Like, if the ultimate sin in this country is calling somebody a racist, they're going to racist laws to defend their stance.
Yeah, we've seen this across the country. Keep on going, though.
Reliance on such racially odious laws in this case is both conceptually suspect and inconsistent with a proper application of Bruin. As an initial matter, it is conceptually suspect because the 14th Amendment was designed to prohibit racially motivated misconduct, not countenance extensions of it. Whether by an analogy, why can't I say that right now? Analogy or otherwise.
Yeah, so basically we're going to skip a bunch of this because it just talks about how the law is racist and
how interesting is it that Clarence Thomas, a man of color, is basically the a majority opinion, wrote the majority opinion on Bruin, and all they do is bring. Isn't it racist against Clarence Thomas that they bring up racist laws to contradict his decision?
Yes.
You ought to write an article for Amaland on that. But again, regardless of whether Baird has a facial challenge, an as applied challenge, or both, our analysis and conclusion would be the same because California's urban open carry ban applies equally to all those it covers. Baird's as applied challenge to the urban open carry boils down to the government that California cannot constitutionally deny him from carrying openly throughout the state, or at least the 95% of the state by population covered by its urban open carry ban. The analysis of that claim is no different than for Baird's facial challenge, which merely expands the argument to contend that for the same reasons, California cannot constitutionally ban others from carrying openly throughout the state. Bruin's two-step framework applies to both, and both challenges succeed. Let's see.
Okay, you gotta remember, we can stop right there. You gotta remember that a facial challenge is against the law, as applied means to the person.
In other words, as applied is an individual, and facial means everyone, the entire population, whether it's the state or the federal government.
Yeah. So Van Dyke just goes through this whole entire thing and tears them up.
So, and just like to give a little TLDR here, this is not the decision. This is one of the judges writing a dissenting opinion.
This is the opinion.
Oh, this is the opinion?
Correct.
Oh, okay. I thought I had it opposite then.
No, this is not the dissenting.
So you're saying California is getting open carry?
Yes. For right now. We're going to talk about that in a second. But go ahead. The district in part, reverse in part, remands the instructions to enter judgment in favor of the appellant with respect to the challenge of urban California ban. Basically, it's not open yet. They are sending it back down to the district judge and telling the district judge, you have to decide for the appellant here, which is Baird.
Oh, wow.
You got to remember, summary judgment was issued for the state, but now they're going to have to issue summary judgment for the plaintiff here.
So
I'm going to get to this super chat really quick. Music says, thank you for being on top of this. No problem, buddy.
Oh, all right. So I misunderstood. I thought that this was a dissenting opinion. So this is a majority opinion.
This is the majority opinion of the three judges. Now, what's going to happen is that the state is going to ask for this to go en banc because, of course, they will.
So three judge panel, is that en banc or not en banc?
This is not en banc. En banc means full bench. Let me explain something about California.
Yes, thank you.
Usually there's about 16 judges on a circuit court bench, and when it goes en banc, all 16 of the judges hear the case. The ninth is a little bit weird because they have a lot of judges. So there's actually en banc panels, which is like, I think it's 12 judges. I could be mistaken. That will hear the case because they have so many judges in the ninth. So
there's two levels of en banc in the Ninth Circuit.
No, there's only one.
Oh,
there's only one.
Okay.
There's only one level of en banc. The judges that get picked are supposed to be picked at random for the en banc hearing.
Okay. Right. I thought there were two, but anyhow.
No, you can't go en banc then en banc again. It's en banc. You're going to get a panel of 12 judges, and those are going to be your en banc hearing.
All right. So now here's one of the things. Like Bruin which is cited in all Second Amendment cases going forward from Bruin historically, and wasn't cited in Matt Hoover's case, who's going to be a guest on our show today. The problem, what I have great difficulty with Bruin in New York State is that New York State's like, yeah, so we'll create another law that just means more BS. So Bruin did not do anything to fix New York State at all.
It did fix a little bit of it, but it pitted on the road to be totally fixed.
So what I'm the way I'm putting these two together is this open for mischief in the California court system to devise some version of the New York State Concealed Carry Improvement Act?
Yeah, there definitely is, but it does lay the road for those to be challenged. None of this is quick. None of this is quick. I don't want people to think that any of this is quick. It takes a long ass time, and nothing's going to change that.
So unlike Florida, like if this was Florida, which recently happened, the Attorney General started instructing all of the law enforcement in the state, like, hey, don't prosecute open carry.
Yeah, that could happen. I doubt that's going to happen in California.
Yeah, Bonta's not offering that, right?
The AG in Florida is a Republican. The AG in California is Rob Bonta, who hates firearms. So I don't see Rob Bonta doing that. There was Lee actually backed up Van Dyke, and he called Van Dyke's opinion an excellent opinion, but he just wanted to highlight a little bit more about like citizens being denied their right. So Lee basically, one of the things Lee did was enter a bunch of documentation. Actually, I'll show you. Let me just put this up here. He entered a bunch of documentation about like different things to show examples of how California is violating the rights of its citizens. So he did do that, but he wanted to do.
Is this like the concealed carry open carry application?
Yeah, so he did a bunch of different documents, just not only that, but yeah, so he's like, this is ridiculous. So he did do that. One judge, which was a Democrat, of course dissented, because why not? But unfortunately, I do think that this is probably going to go en banc, and en banc, I think, is going to be turned over. Oh, and 688 Tech Sub, I'm on to you. ET Flood. Gotcha.
Peanut says when. So it takes time.
Yeah. So it's going to take time. There's no exact timeline right now. It's being remanded back down to the district court, and that judge is going to take forever to go ahead and issue that decision, because he's not going to like that decision. We have another one. We need Crump and Rich for U.S. Senate for Virginia and Florida, respectively. No.
Amen. Crump couldn't afford the pay cut. I could use the job, though.
Wouldn't be a pay cut. I mean, there's always ways to get money behind the scenes.
You mean the insider trading or the Somali daycare loophole?
Both. Rich and I are opening a chain of daycare centers across the country. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, so I have a feeling that the district court judge is going to try to slow roll this as much as possible.
So what is the next date of action? So the district court judge gets to slow walk it. Is it 30, 60, 90 days? What? Did Crump lock up? And that's a good face to lock up on, Crump. And hopefully they'll post that at the Gundies when you win the award. So our buddy Night Strike, who has 2awebhosting.com, is that the Flying Rich Leering Center? Yes, I would spell it a little worse so you knew that you could learn.
Hey, all. Sorry about that. No, we power went out. I'm back. I'm on generator, but it's going to take a while for like everything to come back online.
Crumpy, I'm highly disappointed. Not only do you have a generator, but don't you have everything on UPS? Not
I
enough?
do. I do have everything on UPS.
And there he goes again. Yeah, so the UPS is uninterruptible power supply, or battery backup, as
Yes,
normal would call it.
but but like my podcast computer is not on UPS.
Now we know.
All right,
Yeah,
but we're gonna wrap up here at 5 o'clock. We have Matt Hoover for his first interview.
yes. Well, not first. He was on Dark Show last night.
Yeah, or one of his first interviews.
First YouTube interview.
Yeah,
because I was on Rumble.
yeah. So we're gonna be talking to Cirrus at 5 p.m. Eastern. So tune in for that. And we're gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for watching, and yep, that's it. See you
Ready, Crumpy?
guys later.